Hey folks, I'm Rob.
And I'm Nathan.
And I'm Steve.
And we are Two Guys in a Ride. And say, Nate, tell us where we're at today.
Hey, today we are at the beautiful Chanhassen Autoplex in Chanhassen, Minnesota. And we are going to take you on a virtual car tour. And we're going to go through about 6 to 8 garages here, meet the owners, take a look at the whole garage, take a look at the cars they have on there. And it's going to be great.
And Steve, why don't you give us a little bit of information about what's going on here?
Well, our Cars and Cave shows happen the last Saturday of every month from April through September. As we all know, April has been canceled out here, but we've got the virtual car show with Two Guys in a Ride helping us out, and you're going to see some great garages today. I might add that during our car shows, we always give back to the community. We have a charity for each one of our 6 car shows. The first one is a really good one. They're back with us for a second year. It's Treehouse. The mission of Treehouse Hope is to end hopelessness among teens through mentorship, support groups, or off-site activities which create safe environments where teens can be themselves and have fun. So there will be a link on the website to donate. Please donate generously. It's a great cause. We help a lot of teens, and so please donate. Thank you.
All right, so what do you say, Steve and Nate?
Oh, let's go for a ride.
All right.
Hey folks, this is Nathan with Two Guys in a Ride, and right now we're stepping into Jeff's garage out of the Chanhassen Autoplex, and once again you're going to get to see something that's done a little bit differently. So, Jeff, first of all, thank you for having us come in and do a tour of your garage.
That's why we have cars, and that's why we have garages, is we like to host people and talk about our toys.
Well, talking of toys, if we have 3 beautiful Jaguars, which I'm drooling over, and then we have an odd BMW. Yes. I just got a bad look from Gene over there. Jaguar Gene was giving me a stare down because there was a BMW in here, but it's not my fault, Gene. All right, and then so we're going to talk about those in a minute. But when you bought the garage here, tell us a little bit about it. You know, was it completely bare, just walls, or how much of it did you do yourself?
Yeah, it was basically a working garage as opposed to a show garage. So and it was a double, so it had a drive-through. Okay. The previous owner had a workshop in here and did work in it, obviously, and so it had a garage door at both ends. I only wanted half, and I wanted the center court half. So I bought the half, and we put the wall up, and as a result, I ended up with a vestigial loft that was a 4x6 little dance platform up on the second floor that we had to finish out into the loft.
Okay, so so you built this whole loft that we're going to see a little bit later.
Yep, we added that the first year we had it.
Okay. And that's such I absolutely love that about the garages out here, just having that extra area in your garage and making use of that 16, 17 foot ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and my daughter's a marketer, so she actually did the design for me. She was convinced that we had to have a British pub in our British garage, so we kind of finished it off in a pub decor.
Very appropriate for a British garage. And I do notice the gigantic British flag up there, and of course the Jaguar logo on there. So let's talk about a car that we can see into right now, and that is the white Jaguar right here. Mm-hmm. All right, so tell us about this. And there's actually a story behind why you purchased each of these cars. So as we go through it, you can, or if you want to tell us the whole story to start with, either way.
Well, if you want to start with the first one, the first one was the red E-Type, and I had an opportunity for that car because at age 50, I decided I could actually afford the car I lusted for when I was 16. And so I went shopping. It was not a Jaguar. It was a 1967 GTO. And I went shopping. I flew to Arizona. I looked at a number of cars. And the problem was I was educated in that shopping process about clones. I didn't know about clones. And so there are now more GTOs than Pontiac ever made because they converted Tempests.
Okay.
And so I fell back to get smarter. And as I got smarter, I ran into a friend who had a Jaguar for sale. And I said, I can't squeeze my bulk into your little British car, unfortunately, or I would do that. And he said, I have one you can. And I didn't realize it, but the Jaguar E-Types, what we call the XKE, was a pretty small car for the first generation and the second generation. The Series 3, Jaguar had a V12 that they didn't have a car for, and it was a bigger motor. So they lengthened and widened the car, and I suddenly found my bulk fit very comfortably into one of the last of the 4 years where they actually had the bigger E-Types. So that was the first car I bought, and it has a V12, and my wife drove it, and we were driving it, and people would say, does it really have a V12? And so we had a lot of fun with that. The second car is the white one that you mentioned. That came because I had more money, more dollars than cents, as they say. And on my birthday in 1 January, I called up a guy the same guy that hooked me up with the first Jag that I bought. And I said, I kind of want a car that was born the same time I was. Do you have something like that? And he says, well, when's your birthday? And I said, January of 55. And so he said, I've got a November 54, let's take a look at it. And we drove down, and I fell in love immediately and bought it on the spot.
Wow, so it was related to your birthday. So now that leads me to wonder what the top car up here is.
Well, the top car came because I'm in the Jaguar Club of Minnesota, one of the largest Jaguar clubs in the country, and our secretary-treasurer owned it, and we parked next to each other at a show. And I told him how much I loved his car, and if he was ever wanted to get rid of it, he should give me a call. And unfortunately, after he died of cancer, his wife called me, and I couldn't say no to the car. So I found out later that every car has a story, and besides being his, it was also sold for the first time on my wife's birthday. So I actually have a birthday theme going on in the garage.
Holy. I love that. Now, tell us a little bit about the BMW that's parked back there. That's kind of an odd fish. Nice car, but an odd fish in a garage full of Jaguars.
Yeah, it came about because after buying the first two Jags, my wife pointed out that it became obvious to her I was withdrawing a lot from the emotional bank account, and that I really needed to make a deposit, meaning that she was feeling ignored. So we happenstance ran across this Z4, and I didn't know it at the time, but the Z4 is the car that was conceived and totally designed by women. And so she fell in love with the car immediately, and that's my chick car.
So that's the original chick car then?
The original chick car. And she's a blonde and looks great in it driving down the highway with the top down.
You're a good man. Now, like other people, sometimes that have a little extra room in their garage, you sometimes find cars parked in here that aren't necessarily yours, which is the case with this beautiful and rare Corvette. So tell us about this.
Well, a friend of actually the same guy that helps me link up with the Corvettes was asked by the owner of the Corvette to help him sell it, and my son is working. My son's an engineer who has a job, but he's also a car buff and loves them. So he's gotten into dabbling to help our friends sell cars when they come along. So my son, as is usual of most engineers, always becomes an expert. He was an expert. He became an expert enough to figure out how to spell Testarossa on the last car he sold, and now he's become a split window Corvette expert. So I don't know much about the car other than it's beautiful, and I have that size problem. So it's not a really good car for me. But my son loves it and is having a great time learning about it and trying to find an owner for it.
And there was only a couple of years when, or was it 1 year production with that split window?
Yeah, the 63 was a single one-off, if you will. And as I've heard the story, it was simply a political battle between two engineers at GM that created the opportunity for the split window and killed it the next year when the anti-split window guy got promoted. So it's a rarity, and it's a fun car to have in the stable.
Absolutely. All right, let's take a walk upstairs here and take a look at your the loft area. I do notice your armchair back here. This is a very, very comfortable garage stool.
Yes, it is.
Is it gas powered?
Everything has a story. In 2008, I had a full-size van that had this wonderful blue leather interior, a full conversion van. I was pulling a trailer across Nebraska, moving my son's furniture to his college at Boulder, when all of a sudden the van spewed oil out all over the front of the U-Haul trailer, and I ended up having to trade it on the spot in Lincoln. But before we'd left, because we had to fill it with all of his exquisite furniture, I had to take the seats out. Well, that car got crushed in Lincoln, Cash for Clunkers program, and I came home in a Chevy Traverse. So when I got home, I ended up with the seat and didn't know what to do with it. So we converted it into a very comfortable car show seat that rolls out here whenever it needs whenever the throne needs to come out of the garage.
I love it. All right, let's head upstairs here. I like how wide your stairs are. You got some nice antique clay, I call them clay jars. I think they're actually, they're clay. Oh, this is so fun just to see all the different things that are done up here. So we'll get a video of this, but I love it. You've got just, wow. I love the stone tile. I love the combination with the wood floor and then the British pub look. So who picked out all the designing materials up here? Was this a combination effort, or were you told to go play with your cars while your wife did it properly?
Well, this is a little bit of a repository of lost furniture, because the elephant table was in our living room until it got vetoed at home. The couch wouldn't go down the basement of my son-in-law's new house when he married my daughter. The hutch belonged to my grandparents, as in the background for their wedding anniversary pictures for my whole life. My son's first pheasant. So things that were too good to get rid of, but and needed a place to be, that we couldn't dispose of them, but didn't have a place in our home anymore after we downsized, sort of gravitated to the pub and have been selectively placed in retirement here.
I love that. It brings a little bit of home to here.
Yeah.
Now, I love the stonework, the masonry right down here. So did the same guy that did your tile floors build the countertop here for the sink area?
Yes, you're talking to him.
You're a very talented man.
It's all about the tools.
So, well, that helps to have the right tools, especially a good stone to cut. And, wow, this just makes such a comfortable area. And then you got that beautiful view right out the front. Now, from on top here, we can get a really good, or a much better picture of the black Jag. What a stunning look. The design and the lines on that, I absolutely just love them. Now, you've got some pictures over here. Was there a particular theme that you went with besides the British flags?
It started off because we had a lot of white walls to deal with, and of course the British flag took up a chunk of that. But these are mostly posters from the shows that I've shown cars in, and some of them have awards where we've actually won a ribbon or a prize for one of the Jags. But and other automobilia, if you will, that I've come across, mostly from places we've lived. The Franklin was built in Syracuse, New York. We lived in Syracuse, so we have a Franklin poster, and they're all like our cars. They're all connected to something we've done and something we've played with or someplace we've been.
People often wonder, okay, so when did you start, or when did you kind of realize you were a car nut?
Well, when did I realize I was a car nut? When I was young, I had a passion for the GTO, as we talked. Through most of my working life, cars were a necessary evil. I was an over-the-road salesman young in my career, putting 50,000 miles a year on cars and burning them up and trying to stay cheap and affordable the whole time. It wasn't until, as we talked about the first Jag, I got to be 50, I realized, cars can be more than just disposable things. And I remember pulling up when I was driving the red E-Type, the first car that we bought. I remember pulling up to a stop sign on a Saturday morning, and there were at the other three positions of the intersection there were black Porsches, and that's what really tipped me over to being a Jag fan, because you'll never see a place where there are three Jags sitting and looking at each other. They're very unique. They're very, very classic looking, and nothing against Porsches. They're very good German cars. I don't want to be critical of them, but there's an awful lot of them, and I have trouble telling them apart. There's no problem at all telling one Jag from another.
Well, Jeff, I'll tell you what, thank you so much for spending your time showing us your beautiful garage and your car collection.
Thank you for coming.